Are you thinking about buying your first home in Rockland County? You may have looked into the real estate market from influencers all over the country and can't wait to buy your first home. But it is important to understand that there are things you need to know in your specific area, because especially in Rockland County, there are many things to do that you need to take into consideration when purchasing your first home. So here are some different approaches like attorneys, lenders, realtors, funding options and limitations, and much more that are specific to buying a home in Rockland County. In this video, I will be talking you through everything you need to know before buying your first home in Rockland County, New York. Hi, my name is Betsy Estrella Mejia, and I am a realtor here in Rockland County, and I've been here for the last 10 years. And my channel is all about equipping you with the local real estate needs. Be sure to subscribe, and if you're thinking about buying a home in the Rockland County market, contact me, because that's what I do this entire channel. Let's dive in. What do you need to know about buying a home in Rockland County, New York? Let's go into the funding programs. I know many people are either confused or don't know, where do I start with the funding programs available in Rockland County? Well, there's many different programs. Many people ask, Betsy, what is the benefits of the first-time home buyer? Which ones are those? Depending on what program you qualify for or you choose to apply for, which you can apply for more than one and see which one is best for you, there are different ones. So there is a SONIMA program, which is one of the very few programs that qualifies in Rockland County for funding, giving you money for down payment or closing costs. That doesn't mean that you don't need to have some funds available. You still do, because they don't give you everything, okay? The SONIMA Achieving the Dream program has very few restrictions. It's for first-time home buyers only. You must occupy the residence. You cannot rent it or sell it within a certain amount of years. It changes, the guidelines changes sometimes, so we need to look into it year by year. You can qualify even if you make like $120,000. Like, the restrictions are very minimal to the point that almost anyone can qualify. Now, what is the disadvantage of the SONIMA program that many people sometimes don't want to or don't prefer it is because SONIMA takes a long period of time. The minimum time for SONIMA sometimes to close a transaction is 6 months. And in that case, some sellers don't want to accept it. Now, 3 out of 10 applications actually get approved through SONIMA. And the difficult part is that you don't know if they're gonna give you the funds until you are under contract. So that's really the one thing that is very discouraging for SONIMA in many senses. Now, we have the most common programs like conventional or FHA. Conventional program is the most wanted, and many people think that they still need a 20% down, and that's incorrect. Actually, conventional gives you also a 3% down payment, as well as the FHA, which you can do at 3.5. Now, why many people think that FHA is only for first-time home buyers? Because it's one of the most flexible programs. Even if your credit has been shot, even if your credit is not the greatest, let's say anything that is 580 or more might qualify. Once again, these numbers might vary depending on the year that we are in. So we always have to look at those guidelines and always connect with a lender to verify those details. Now, many people think that my credit is affected because they have 650, 680, and even in the low 700s, you can qualify for your home even if you are in those numbers. You just need to find the right program to do it. And FHA is one of them that can help you because of the debt to income ratio is a little bit more. Now, some people ask, Betsy, does USDA qualify for Rockland County? Unfortunately not. USDA is another subsidized program, very much like SONIMA, that will provide funds for your down payment or your closing costs. However, it needs to be on a rural, and Rockland County is considered suburban, no rural. Now, if you're thinking about buying in Orange County or further up in upstate New York, then yes, you might qualify for the USDA program. Now, don't be discouraged if you don't qualify for one program. You can apply for more than one. If you're thinking about buying in a rural area, apply for the USDA, apply for the FHA as well. It doesn't hurt your credit, it doesn't hurt you in any kind of way or any injuries. We also have the BA program. The BA program is for veterans. You can do a 0% down. However, in New York, in Rockland County, in our area, you are required to do at least some escrow, like a 1% minimum as a good faith. in order to move forward. And yes, the bank will return it back to you on escrow at the closing table on a closing day. However, be advised, be aware that you pay it now, you pay it later, but you pay it. Either you put a higher down payment, then that means that your monthly payment will be lower. The lower your down payment, the higher your monthly payment. So you pay it at the beginning or at the end, mindful that is what fits your needs, is what's good for you at the time of purchasing your home. Another important thing to know about buying in Rockland County or in New York State completely is that we are a lawyer state. What does that mean? You must have an attorney. Why? Because you need to have representation besides the realtor, and we have a lot of rules and guidelines and regulations. So New York is not like other states where you can close in 2-3 days because you don't have a lawyer. It's not happening in New York. Unfortunately, it is a big deal in order to close your deal to have your attorney. You will not be able to close anywhere in the state of New York if you don't have an attorney. Now, it's very important that you know who you're choosing. It's always the best case to hire a local attorney, somebody that is well known and knowledgeable of the county itself. Why? Because, for example, even in New York City, you have an attorney that is not local, that doesn't know the town. In Rockland County, we require 12 months of taxes, and we come across sometimes that the attorney doesn't know that, or that the attorney doesn't know the municipalities and which forms we need to do. So if you're going to go get an attorney that is local, that is well known, and as well, make sure that you get a real estate attorney. Because if you're going to the doctor for your heart is hurting, you don't go to a foot doctor, you go to the heart doctor. Do the same with a real estate. Some people have friends and families that are attorneys, family law or things like that. No, find your real estate local attorney. Now, the next big concierge that you need to have, and in my opinion is the most important one, is the lender. Because the lender is the portion of the transaction that takes the longest, is who we're gonna be working with closely. You need to have a strong and knowledgeable lender, because if you don't, you miss the chance of your offer being accepted. It needs to be somebody that is well known in the county. Why is that? Because it can expedite the transactions, and when you present your offer with a trusted local lender, then that has an impact in the seller actually choosing or not choosing your offer. Real estate transactions are very much like a sancocho, this big soup that has a whole bunch of different veggies and things in there. So you do need the lender, the attorney, and the realtor, right? Make sure that it's somebody that is local, that knows the local market, that is very knowledgeable, that is not just a key. Anybody can open doors, right? You need someone who can guide you in this process, because it can be sometimes daunting and frustrating not knowing what the next step is. Now, remember that big soup, that sancocho that we have? Now we have the next person. We already have the attorney, we have the lender, we have the realtor. Now we have an inspection. Now in the state of New York, we don't have a due diligence time, because we do things a little backwards from other states. We go and do inspection before we do contracts. And in the state of New York, inspection is not required, it's not mandatory. If the buyer doesn't want to do it, it doesn't have to do it. It doesn't matter. Now, do I encourage inspection? Yes, every time. It's good to do it. Inspection can save you thousands of dollars down the road. Inspection also is going to tell you the things that the house has good. You learn more about your home, but at the same time, if there is something that needs attention as a new homeowner, the inspection will let you know. Because when we see the house, we go and we see it with the naked eye. We are unable to go to the roof and see what's the actual roof condition or the year of the roof, things like that. An inspector can tell us. Now, once again, it's not mandatory, it's not required in the state of New York to actually do it, and therefore there is no due diligence time for us. Now, if you choose to waive your inspection, we go straight to contract. Now, can you do inspection after you are under contract? Is up to the seller. And if you choose to do it, it's for your own knowledge, it's because you want to, and most of the time they allow it when it is a vacant house. So make sure you do it before, because there is no way back once you go under contract. Now, I have given you the things that you need to know specific to Rockland County that must be done. However, I would like to continue to tell you from beginning to end 9 tips as to what do you need when buying your first home. Now, number 1, you need to determine your budget, because your budget will determine the location. What does that do? Well, the bank is going to verify that you are ready to actually move forward, and that will let you know what exactly is that amount that you can go for. Number 2 is having money saved up for your down payment and closing costs. A lot of people think that they only need the money for the down payment, but there's also funds for closings that are needed, unless you are approved by one of the programs that we mentioned before that will be subsidizing your either down payment or closing costs. Now, also another way for the closing cost is a seller's concession. What does that mean? It means that the seller is allowing you, the buyer, to include the closing costs into your loan as long as the house appraiser to a higher value than what we agree with the seller, which is in this current market very tight, very difficult, little chances to actually getting it because of the multiple offer situations that we have. Now, the next thing you need to do is actually get pre-approved. Without pre-approvals, we cannot go and see homes. Without pre-approval, we're doing nothing. We're not doing you a favor, showing you anything when you don't know what that price point is for you. Now, you're going to get a number that they're going to qualify you for. I always say you need to also look at what do you feel comfortable monthly payment is. You need to tell your lender once you get pre-approved, this is the number monthly that I feel comfortable with. I don't want to go over that. What does that number look like? Because you might get approved for millions of dollars, but do you want to have a mortgage for $1 million house? So you have to look into that and take that into consideration. Now, the next step is hiring the right agent. You need to make sure you have somebody that is knowledgeable. You need to have a good consultant, somebody who's going to guide you in the process, somebody who's not just going to open doors for you to go see the homes. You need someone who can help you, because it can be frustrating not knowing what the next step is. It can be frustrating not being protected because you didn't know what you needed to do next. Once we have a pre-approval and a good realtor, it's time to have fun. It's time to go house hunting. That's when we go out there and see the homes and find the right home for you and your family. And what do we do once we find the right home? Well, we're going to do negotiation. We're going to start then negotiating with the seller as to what the offer could be. Now, in this current market, we have something that is called highest and best, which is coming across very often in multiple offer situations, where they tell us what is your highest, what is your best offer, because we are not coming back. We just want to know what is that number for you, and if you are the highest and strongest, then you will be the one to be chosen. And after you get an offer accepted, is your chance to choose to do your inspection like we mentioned before, and or not if you choose not to. Then we are going under contract. Once you go under contract is when and the time where you're going to meet with your attorney and you have to bring the money for the down payment. So if you're being subsidized by any programs, this is the time. Once the contract is signed and you get that sent over, and they're gonna provide the funds. However, sellers are not gonna wait for the funding. You need to have cash available for that down payment that you offered. The program might refund you your down payment, but you need to have those funds available the day that you're going to go sign the contract. Now, if the program is giving money for down payment, you can also use that money for closing costs. That can be, especially in our area, a little high because of the taxes that we have. Now, once we are under contract, then a lot of behind the scene is going to happen with your attorney, and making sure that you get the municipalities in place, the title, the liens, making sure that you're taking only a home that is clear with no violations and all of that good stuff. Also, we're gonna go do the appraisal, which is one of the greatest steps of after being under contract, because we're gonna make sure that you don't overpay for that property, that the amount that we offer is an amount that is within the market value, that you're not paying over what the house is actually worth, okay? And then after we are done with all that negotiation and the bank says you are finally approved, you're gonna get to your closing table and you get the keys. So if you're thinking about moving in Rockland County or the surrounding areas, feel free to reach out. I will be more than happy to help. I hope this video was helpful and see you next time.